Hello Wargamers, I'm Invasive Ramnus, and today I want to revisit Crisis Suits, talk a little bit more about them and how my thoughts have progressed since my earlier Crisis Suit video. So if you haven't seen my old Crisis Suit video, I would recommend seeing that. Most of the things that I say in that, 95% of the things I say in that video, I think are still very accurate and are probably very helpful for people just starting out as Tau, or people wanting to learn more about Tau or anything like that. So there's a link below if you want to watch that video. But if you've already seen that video, here's some thoughts on how weapon loadouts might be different than what I mentioned in that video. Just because it's been a few months since the Codex came out, Elder were released. The new Space Marine Codex is a week away, and so as you might expect, the game has changed, and I've had a lot of time to think about what really works for me in terms of Crisis Suit loadouts. And this primarily has to do with weapon loadouts. So my old video talking about support systems is largely still, my thoughts. It's still representative of my thoughts on support systems. But for weapon systems, I want to talk a little bit more about these three different types of loadouts. So in my old video, I talked about twin-linked missile pods with a plasma rifle, or missile pod, plasma rifle, and flamer. And so that's why this guy's here, is to kind of show you this is where I was coming from, and these guys are where I'm going. These are the guys that represent the loadouts that I use currently. And I want to explain why. So for Crisis Suits, there's the kind of the top tier weapons that you are probably going to be tempted to use are plasma rifles, missile pods, and fusion blasters. And plasma rifles are appealing because they're strength 6, AP2 rapid fire, so you can potentially be putting out 2 AP2 shots from these guys, which is really good for taking out MEQs or TEQs, Marine equivalents, Terminator equivalents, anything that a missile pod or a pulse rifle isn't going to have the AP value to really take care of. So plasma rifles are really well suited to that, as are ion accelerators and to a lesser extent the ion cannon for the hammerhead. But plasma rifles are definitely the only option you have of those three for Crisis Suits. So plasma rifles are really appealing in that way, and they can be great if there's a unit of Marines, Terminators, anything that again that has a low armor save, or is highly resilient. If there's a unit of those guys that needs to go down, sending a unit of Crisis Suits with plasma rifles at them is one way to do that. It's one way to take care of them. And especially with the new Marine Codex coming out, I think plasma rifles are going to be even more important as in compared to just a few weeks ago. But plasma rifles are definitely something that the Crisis Suit does well with. The second option is you can take missile pods, which, like I mentioned in my last video, was something that I was thinking about. Having strength 7 at 36-inch range, assault 2, really synergizes well with the jump, shoot, jump. You can stay back and forth. Oh no. You can jump, shoot, jump back and forth and not really risk getting too close. It's more of just jumping back and forth out of line of sight. Whereas if you use a weapon with a shorter range, you're a little bit more vulnerable to the enemy outmaneuvering you and kind of negating that ability to jump behind cover and stuff. And so the missile pod is a really versatile weapon because it can take care of infantry. It's strong enough that it can do damage to light vehicles, and you have long range, so it synergizes well with jump, shoot, jump, and other weapons like marker drones. So you wouldn't want to put marker drones with a fusion blaster because marker drones are better when you are at their full range away. at their full range. So yeah, so you can see why the missile pod is appealing. Now, the downside of the missile pod, though, is that you can get missile pods other places. You can get missile pods from broadsides, which, yeah, everybody loves broadsides. And you can get missile pods from broadsides, man. So, it's not necessarily a great use of resources to sink points into something that you could get somewhere else that's in a slightly more durable position and things like that. So the missile pod is a little bit disadvantaged just because of the prevalence of missiles in other places. The third option is a the fusion blaster, which is a melta-gun, and with the nerfing of the broadside heavy rail rifle to being only strength 8, having a melta weapon can be really useful, and so it's a good source of anti-tank and anti-heavy infantry. Just in case AP2 isn't enough, you can get AP1, and it can double out some characters, right? So if you have a character that's toughness 4 and you hit it with a fusion blaster, it will be doubled out. So that's a nice little bonus. But it does have a very short range, and so it makes it difficult to take full advantage of jump, shoot, jump just because you're held so close to the enemy in order to be effective with your weapon. So what loadouts would I recommend? Well, like I mentioned, this is what I was recommending before, but now I'm leaning much more towards these two. Either having plasma rifle, or a fusion blaster and plasma rifle. And the reason for that is, again, largely because missile pads can be found elsewhere, but I find my army needing something to go and just get some vehicles out of the way. And having a team of fusion blasters is really a great way to do that. They can deep strike, they can move relatively quickly, and so having a suit with a fusion blaster is really useful. But you don't want to just have only fusion blasters, because then you're really stuck to one purpose. And if your opponent doesn't have vehicles, or you know, just has heavy infantry or something like that, having fusion blasters isn't going to be as beneficial as having plasma rifles. And so you offset that risk by taking one fusion blaster and one plasma rifle and not putting all your eggs in one basket. And so the fusion blaster plasma rifle loadout is really helpful to do that. Similarly, you can take plasma rifle, and have that extra ability to take out more heavy infantry and things like that. And so in my unit, I run three crisis suits with fusion blaster and plasma rifle, and then a commander with dual plasma rifles. So that way he can be sniping out independent characters with precision shots, and with 4 plasma rifle shots within rapid fire range, he has a pretty good chance at landing some shots and potentially taking out a HQ choice or something that's augmenting the unit. And so that can be a really important role for the commander to play in that crisis suit unit. So in summary, I would recommend taking crisis suits still, especially if you're not taking Riptides. You need to have something in your elite slot, and Riptides are great, and you can certainly take multiple Riptides, and they are very good. But if you don't want to do that, or can't do that, or have some reason not to take Riptides, crisis suits are still very potent, and in that role, I think that they are best suited in one of these two configurations, as opposed to having a missile pod plasma rifle combination. Largely because when I use a missile pod plasma rifle combination with my current army, I find myself, just using the missile pods. I rarely will get close enough to actually use the plasma rifle because I'm trying to stick with the missile pods and use them, and then it just kind of, you're torn between two different strategies, a close range strategy and a far range strategy, and so having these two notably different ranged weapons on one unit makes things difficult in that way. And so it's better to have a more clearly defined role for the unit, like you have with the plasma rifle or plasma rifle fusion blaster unit. So yeah, so having that consistency is something that makes managing the unit and using it effectively a lot easier for me as a player, and might be something you might want to consider if you're fielding crisis suits. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, I think you know what to do, and of course leave your comments below, and subscriptions are always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.